Right, thank you for staying with us here on KTN Prime. Tonight, more than 700,000 learners are gearing up for the next phase of their education life after receiving their KCSE examination results. A record performance in an exam sat during uncertain times, with the COVID-19 pandemic ravaging the country and causing major disruptions in the education sector. At this hour on KTN Prime, we now want to analyze the just concluded release, perhaps, of the KCSE results that were released this afternoon, but also what next for these learners. I'm speaking to Professor Julius Otundo, who's joining us here in studio. He's an educationist, a senior lecturer at the Riara University and the director of Riara Institute. Thank you, Prof, for joining us. We have Dr. Edwin Tarno, who's the chief principal, Kenya Technical Training College, that's KTTC, and Dr. Masi Wahome, who's the CEO, Kenya University and College's Central Placement Services, and that is COOPS. Thank you very much, gentlemen and lady, for joining us. Perhaps, Professor Otundo, let me start with you. We have recorded, from what the CS has said, a tremendous performance, a tremendous improvement compared to last year. Most students will be going to university from the results we've seen, considering that these were exams that were sat in uncertain times. How do you analyze the numbers so far?
Thank you, Akisa. I'm glad that we are beginning to have a snapshot of analysis of what has just been released. I would like to say that in the first place, to thank the Cabinet Secretary for the manner in which he released the examinations today, and particularly based on the fact that this is an exam that was done under very unprecedented times, very hard times for our candidates. And I want to thank the candidates so far for being the heroes during and after COVID-19. And I also want to appreciate the teachers and schools for the effort so far they have put in. But having said that, I would really say that there seems to be an improvement, yes, but deeper analysis needs to be done in terms of value addition, because notably chemistry and physics, I noted that has not been done very well. So a deep analysis needs to be done. There was a bit of a drop in English, a bit of a rise in Kiswahili. I'm glad technical subjects so far have been done well. There's quite some improvement in that particular region. But I'm concerned about the numbers that sat for the same for KCPE 4 years ago. I think the 100% transition did not seem to get very well. I don't know what exactly happened, but we have quite a huge number that finally did not make it to the fourth form come this year. But however, I would say that the results are slightly improved, but we need to interrogate the science subjects, particularly biology. I noticed quite some good improvement, and that's a good thing. But given that we are STEM, a country that is is likely going to get to STEM, we need to really interrogate the pure sciences, interrogate the technical subjects, applied sciences, to just see where we should be as a country in terms of innovation and creativity.
Before I go to our other guests, another issue that's starting to come out, and we heard it during the release of the KCPE examinations, Professor Otundo, private schools not coming up or having a slot on the top 15, top 20 students. What's happening?
One, I want to put this disclaimer that when we are releasing results or analyzing results, we need to first of all look at it as Kenyan students, not private nor public. And that's one. But then I want to say that one of the things that happens is that when students perform very well in primary, the students who get 400 marks basically end up into top public schools. So we have minimal number of students, particularly who end up in top private schools with high scores. That already is an indication that when they get to the fourth form, many of the top scores are likely to come from public schools, given that the top scorers of primary end up in the top secondary schools. At the same time, you see categorization of private and public will also go in line with the specific regions' entry behavior and exit behavior. So meaning that the entry behavior in most private schools at high school is not as high as the entry behavior of the students who get to public secondary schools.
All right. Let me bring in others. Dr. Mercy Wahome, CEO of KUPS. The next stage really falls squarely on the Kenya University and Colleges Central Placement Services. Looking at the numbers today, slightly more than 143,000 C+ and above, meaning they have all qualified for degree studies. Can the Kenyan universities, given the capacity, absorb this number? Dr. Wahome. Dr. Wahome, okay, seems we have lost Dr. Wahome, but let's talk TVET. Dr. Tarno, thank you for joining us here tonight. When we look at the numbers, we can see 600,159 students scored C plane and below. That's where TVET institutions come in. The question that I've just posed to KUPS, are we able to absorb this number in TVET institutions?
Oh, sorry, forgive me, I've lost some points.
Okay,
yes,
right, let's go with you.
If I heard you right, you were asking about the number of students that scored C+ and above, and
yes,
whether we are able to
yes,
absorb the 143,000.
Yes.
Yes, we are going to comfortably absorb all these students in both our public and private universities. Actually, the universities have declared over 200,000 vacancies or capacities. Yeah, so we are comfortable that we'll be able to accommodate everyone.
Mm-hmm. How about TVET institutions? We're seeing another big number scoring C plane and below, 600,000 students.
Yes, the same for the TVET. I'm sure Dr. Passion of acknowledged this. We have TVET institutions, just the ones that are under the Ministry of Education, can take up to over 350,000. So when we put in all the other ministries, we can be able to absorb all students.
All right, we're really struggling to hear you, but Dr. Wahome, I'll be coming to you shortly. Dr. Tarno, what opportunities then can these students take advantage of? Really speaking about the number, 600,000 who scored C plane and below. Dr. Wahome says there's an opportunity for them to be absorbed in all these institutions, but what can they explore then?
Well, thank you very much, Kisa. I think whenever results are released, there is always celebration in one corner or sadness in another side of the families. But I always told everyone that every child has special qualities, they have special ability, they have special traits, they have special talents, which need to be harnessed by our systems. So it's not like A is the beginning of everything and C is the end of everything, or whatever grade students get that determines their lives. Yeah. So I think if we can be able to have a system that harnesses all these traits, then that is what makes a country and an educational system very, very, very brilliant. So for my case, the TVET options is an option that is also part and parcel of the higher education sector. So we, with over 610,000 vacancies that are available for these people, and also we are aware, I think Dr. Wahome will tell you that you work with her in groups on time, and 143,000 that have qualified for a degree. Some of them actually opt to join the TVET programs. Yeah. In 2017, about 500. I think my last date had moved to 2,500. Students who have qualified to go to join degree, but they're joining TVET. I think so. We should agree that TVET is another pathway to education. And the more the parents believe in this, all of us believe that there are a lot of vacancies in this sector, the better for all of us. And remember, even employability rate at the TVET, research has shown in 2018, for instance, the employability rate at TVET institutions is 80% in every 2 years. compared to slightly over 50% in universities in every 2 years. So there are so many other aspects that we need to look at, but TVET is very available. We have thousands of courses that students can take, from medicine to engineering to business courses. So TVET is open, and the focus of government now is in TVET, and we want to assure the public that it's there. We're taking people with C- and above, and I also mentioned that we have enough vacancies. There are more than 230 public TVET institutions, and there are more than 1,000 other private ones in their own different sizes. So we have the capacity to take all this, and the government is also funding TVET. At the rate of 30,000 per each student that joins a TVET institution. And the Higher Education Loans Board gives a balance of 26,000.
Right.
So really, TVET is the place to be.
Right, Professor, employability rate for students going to TVET slightly higher than what is being witnessed in the university. Is it a case of courses that are not in line with what's needed in the job market? How can we re-engineer that?
That could be a relative statement, but in my thinking is that I don't have the data per se, but sometimes I think what we refer to as employment in this country is purely underemployment. We need to really analyze whether what we say in terms of employment is really employment or underemployment. There are circumstances, I believe, that even some of the graduates from TVET institutions are really underemployed. A student who has done, for example, mechanical engineering and ends up in a small mechanic, a small workshop in, say, Mumias, and he earns himself 200 or 300 shillings in a day after doing a lot of work. Yes, according to the analysis, it will show that he's employed. But is that really employment, or it's underemployment? I think we need to evaluate that further. And so some of the reasons of which you might find that happening and feeling that TVET could be having a higher rate, we need to evaluate based on the data and the numbers of students who get to university and their progression into careers as compared to the numbers that get into TVET. Correctly. And then when we translate that into percentages, let us look at it in terms of productivity, innovation, and whether it is really productive employment or just employment. That, to me, is a bit of a challenge. And before I get back to Akisa, you asked something about private school. Let me mention this, that we have private schools that have posted very good results. Riara Springs, for example, on school posted very good results. Kabarak, Light Academy. So that I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Dr. Ahome, how do we make up for lost time? We're now getting into the placement period. The results have been marked in a record 16 days. It means we are really moving against time. How do we make up for this lost time, even as we try to ensure that the students transition to the institutions of higher learning?
Thank you. I'd wish to assure Kenyans that we will be done with the placement and students will be ready to join the institutions of higher learning by September. Most of the universities, the academic year starts in September. So by the end of August, we will be done with the placement to universities and to TVET institutions, and we'll be able to make up for the lost time that we've had because of COVID.
Open. Take us through this process for any learners, parents watching. What do they expect to see or do in the next coming days or weeks?
In the next few days, we will be receiving the results officially from NEC. We will wait for guidance on exact numbers that we have to take, and we hope that just like last year and the year before, we will be able to take all the C+ and above. This is 143,000 students. We'll be opening our portals, I would say, in 3 weeks' time, and we will announce all this in the media, both social media, the print media, TV. We'll be inviting students to make their applications. We already have the data of all the students that sat for the exams. from NEC. So what we are just waiting for is the results to feed them into our system. We will open our systems for fast revision. So within this time, the students will be able to access the students portal, choose the subjects, the courses that they wish to pursue. So we have 4 choices for the university. So we have choice 1 that has A, B, and C, then choice 2, choice 3, and choice 4. I would wish to really encourage the students to first look at what they are good at, what they enjoy doing, and not really what their parents or their guardians or their teachers wish them to be. It's all about your career, and this is a very important time in their life. So once that is done, we'll allow at least 3 weeks for the system to for the students to choose their courses in the system. Then we will do the placement and then have a second revision for those who may have been left out in the first selection. So once we are done with this, we hope that every student will be able to get an opportunity to pursue a course that they wish to undertake. At the same time, the students are free to choose TVET courses. So the portal will be open and available for everyone who got an A all the way to an E. Thank you.
All right, thank you for clearing that up for us. In a few, I'll ask you on some of the common mistakes that students make when they're trying to select some of their courses. But let me bring in Dr. Tarnow at this point. You've mentioned that the expansion of TVET institutions, and we've seen that happen since, I think, 2013 or before then. Talk to us about that employability rate you're talking about. What is it that we are doing right in these institutions?
What Professor Otindo mentioned earlier, question of analysis and issues of going down into details of underemployment and all that stuff, that is a very, very detailed thing that needs to be done. That one is okay. But we know very well even the unemployment rate alone, whether it is underemployment or unemployment as it were, is still high. I think the critical aspect here is that we have the numbers in terms of the constructions that took place in TVET institutions. The policy of government is to increase the numbers. We also have to look at the entire country and look at the entire ecosystem of education in Kenya. When you have 143,000 people qualifying to go to the university, and the universities have declared 200,000 vacancies, it means even if all of them are absorbed, there is still vacancy at the university because of mean grade that allows you to go to the university is C+. So where do you take 610,000 people? So the issues here must be looked at in totality. And if we are talking of transition, we know for sure something that is coming, which is even a bigger issue, is that the students currently in grade 4, in 2026, they will be joining the STEM system in higher education of the secondary level. Now, in that STEM, we have technology, engineering, mathematics, and sciences, of course. We expect them to live with what is called the dual certification. So the first group of students up to 2026 will have the opportunity to do technical education in secondary education, which means they can have an option of having an artisan certificate apart from having the normal KCSE certificate in mathematics and the rest of the. So this would be a very nice plan because then it allows students to make decisions early enough when they want to check. So you can see then if that time reaches 2026, when these grade 4 students reach that stage, not only will we require more technical teachers, we will also have a more expanded group leaving from 4, who then have made a decision to work with technology systems, and they will be moving to the universities or colleges or TVET colleges particularly. So you can see that is why the expansion of TVET institutions is critical, and I think as much as today they are not really full in terms of capacity, we expect this to continue improving. It's much better than it was 4 years ago when we only had 50 vacancies declared. Now we have the number increasing to 360, as Madam Dr. Home has mentioned. So these are realities, and I think when we look at the educational system, by just trying to stick to the universities as a group, TVET as a group, secondary school as a group, that we lose out. We need to look at how the transition takes place all the way from the lower school up to the university. What happens along? Who is this 609 that is left out? So that is the kind of language we should be trying to look at as a country, not looking at the sectors only in isolation.
Right. Professor, when it comes to universities, do we revise these courses to have them in line with the century's needs and wants in the job market? And talk to the students who are watching us right now and their parents. What should be their lookout for when they're making a decision on which course to take? Because it's critical.
Thank you. One of the things that universities engage in is research. And so our courses are revised based on research and based on the 21st century approaches globally. And because of that, my take is that even for TVET, I would like to say that we need to work out a formula in which we have a strong link between universities and TVET institutions. Because again, when students are taken through hard skills, they need soft skills. In fact, the world speaks more of the soft skills today. So you have the skills, yes, as electrical engineer, but I have the soft skills on how to convince even clients, customer relations, customer care, relationship and employment. And that, again, that means that we can have TVET institutions have a formula in which we can have a one-year transition into higher learning institutions so that students also from TVET are exposed to research, innovation, and creativity and get the soft skills. Now, students who are watching us today, this is what I would like to say. Yes, whatever grade they have scored, it's a grade that can make a life for them, depending on how they're going to treat their next level. But then, even the ones who are going to join university, I would encourage them that as a university lecturer, one of the things I have noted, students report to university on day one, and many of them look surprised on some of our methods of teaching because they are basically research-based methods of teaching. We use flipped learning where the learners have to do much of the work, and we use problem-based or project-based assessment and project-based learning and assessment. So what am I trying to say? I want to encourage students who have just sat for exams to try and find some short courses, brief courses in universities. And even the TVET, the ones who are going to go to TVET, we want to welcome them to come and study some short courses before they really get into their formal studies. And to the CEO for COOPS, I want to say this, that it has been happening, and I'm hoping that's not going to happen this time, for students to be placed in courses of their choice. There are several students who end up complaining that they are not placed in the courses of their choice. If it can be done now, I'll be very glad. But I want to say that we as universities, we revise our courses based on research, and research that can place students to a global perspective. So we would like to tell the students and the parents that university courses are not stagnated. We revise them after every season to ensure that our students remain competitive, not only in Kenya, but globally.
Okay, I'd really like Dr. Ahome to respond to that. Why students find themselves in courses that were not of their choice, and are we being helpful to these students?
Thank you, and I'd like to assure Professor that we will be placing students based on their choices. And I can explain why in the past students have said they were placed in courses that were not of their choice when they do not make any selection. Unfortunately, we give them the opportunity to take what is available, but also allow them to change when they get to the universities. So that's what we call sharing, and we try as much as possible to have a very small number of students who really have to be shared. But those shared, the first priority they get is to allow them to change their course. I want to just mention some of the mistakes that our students make. when they start the selection process, the choices at school level, there's a lot of influence from the teachers. So you find a teacher will say, you're an A student, you will choose to take medicine or engineering. And probably that is not what the student would like. They are more of art students. So you find that there's a lot of influence from the teachers. Then when they get home, you find the parents wish that they can be what their parents did not make it to be. So if I wanted, I have always admired and I hoped to be an engineer, then I see this is the opportunity to get an engineer in the home. So they start pushing the children to take certain careers that they consider lucrative, for example. When the students now come to interact with our system to select their courses, you find some of the students will use cyber cafes and they leave the results with the attendant at the cyber cafe who does the application for them, fills out whatever they think would be interesting for the student. And then after that, the candidate comes very surprised at what they have found themselves to pursue. For that, we have introduced an app. Now we have a platform on the phone that the students can be able to make the choices from, at the comfort of their homes. They don't have to use the cyber cafes if they have access to a smartphone. Now, another problem is just incomplete process. You find we are able to track and see a student started off on a certain day, then they just did not go through to the end. So they leave their selection hanging and therefore end up not getting any opportunity. We have those students who go for courses they don't even qualify for. We usually provide the cutoff points for the previous year. Right now, when we open our systems, the 2019 cutoff will be on the system to provide a guide. So if I see that for medicine, University of Nairobi took the last candidate who went in with medicine to take medicine had 44. And I look at because the system will calculate for you your points, the cluster weight. So if I see mine is 43 and the performance in the country has been better than last year's, then automatically it will be higher than 44. So I need to, there's a way that we are able to predict what the cutoff point is. Now, we have staff going around the country.
Yes.
And in Huduma Center to be able to guide the students in this process.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Taro. In under 30 seconds, your message to any learners who are watching today.
From Dr. Tano, I just want to wish them well, and I want to also reiterate and inform them that each one of them is special. They are special to this country, and they are special to themselves and to their parents. Let them pursue their dreams. Let them not pursue the dreams of other people. And that they have succeeded in clearing their secondary education. They now need to choose careers within the context of their abilities and within the grades that they obtain. They are successful. They should not be told they cannot succeed.
Great, thank you, Professor Tundo. Under 30 seconds, we're out of time.
My parting shot to the students is that the world has gone digital. Let them get to increase their digital space. Universities, we are ready to, they can study from the comfort of their seat. During this short period, let them engage themselves in activities that are productive.
Thank you very much. That's how we wrap it up. If you're a learner, if you're a parent, I hope you've been able to pick a thing or two. Specifically on the placements, Dr. Mercy Wahome has been kind enough to just take you through some of the mistakes you make, hence why you end up in courses that are not of your choice. So careful this time round, and we wish you all the best. Dr. Mercy Wahome is the CEO of the Kenya University and Colleges Central Placement Services, KUPS. Dr. Edwin Tarno, Chief Principal, Kenya Technical Training College, KETTC, is saying there are a lot of chances for you in TVET institutions. And Professor Julius Otundo, Senior Lecturer, Riara University, as well as an educationist, is saying take advantage of the digital space. There are a lot of short courses you can do right now before you get into university and even when you get there. Thank you for joining us. I am Akisa Wandera. Sign language interpreter is Meresho Witi. Robinson Okenya comes in next with the FKF PL review show. Everything about football, local and international. He's your guy for that. Have a good night. I'll be seeing you tomorrow night on The Front Row.
This is KTN News.